welcome to Character Creation Cast, where Ryan and I are very upset to find
We're just diving right in.
Where Ryan and I are really upset to find out that LMFAO is A, no longer together. B, Party Rock came out in 2011.
Yep.
And that LMFAO claimed that they've been doing this forever, quote, like 4 or 5 years. So here we are, everyone, celebrating 4 years together, doing better than LMFAO. It's our 4-year Q&A episode, part 3.
Well, welcome, everybody.
Please leave all that in.
Gosh, what an intro. What an intro. We've got an energy today. We're recording in the morning on a Memorial Day, Monday morning.
Yep.
So welcome, everybody from the future. We're really happy that you were able to join us for this off-the-cuff Q&A session. We'll try to keep it within an hour and a half, but we're a little slap happy this morning, but it's fine. We'll see how it goes.
We're doing our best. Should I put the timer on? I feel like that worked pretty well for us this time.
It did. Okay. Yeah.
All right. How many questions do we have to do today? I think there's like 20, right?
Something like that.
All right.
Some of them might be pretty fast, but we got 23 questions.
23 questions. How many did we get through last
questions.
time? Okay, so the first time we got through 16.
Yep.
And then the next time
the second time we got through 18, but like two extra ones were doubles, so 16 again.
Okay.
So we'll see if we can get through another 16 or more.
I mean, here we go. Ready?
Ready? I forget who's evens, who's odds.
Well, last time you said I was odds.
That's true. Let's just go with that.
I'm fine being the odd one.
I was listening to our backlog of bonus content that you can catch up on in the Patreon that we have going on right now. It's interesting because I think it was Hero Dog Saves Town, or no, it was some game that we did together, and I was like, okay, I'll be evens, you be odds, and you're like, that's all you need to know about us. Right.
Right.
that's it right
I like that I continue to make the same joke. I'm nothing if not consistent.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's great. I am looking at my screen as if I'm seeing you when I'm talking to you, but actually I just am looking at my waveforms. So now I'm actually looking at you.
Welcome.
Do you like how I faked that though? Like I was paying attention. Okay, so does that mean I get to go first?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right, so this question, first one for the day, is from Derek D. Best non-Euro-centric fantasy game.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm trying to think like fantasy, because we've covered non-Euro-centric games. I'm trying to think like specifically fantasy, though. I
mean, it's difficult because like the fantasy genre traditionally was born out of that European
what we
mindset,
traditionally equate with fantasy. Yeah.
Right. I haven't been able to read any of it yet, but from what I've seen of the materials, the promo materials and stuff, what is it?
Coyote and Crow.
Yeah, Coyote and Crow.
Mm-hmm.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of Native American influences in this one. And the art is just gorgeous. From what I hear, the game is pretty fantastic. And the book is just enormous.
It's a huge book.
472 full color pages with like, it's hefty. It's nice. It feels good. And it's got a lot of very cool concepts from what I saw from the Kickstarter and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a number of good D&D settings too that have non-Eurocentric feels. I'm gonna probably like pronounce this wrong because I want to pronounce it in like my Spanish. I always want to pronounce like anything in like the way you would pronounce it in Spanish because it's the only other language I speak.
Right.
But the islands of Sina Una is I want to say like, I'm going to get this wrong and I'm going to feel so guilty about it. I believe like Philippines inspired setting. Oh my God, now I'm going to look.
Now we got to do research.
I know. God, I wasn't prepared for this.
Thanks, Derek.
I was right. It is inspired by the Filipino mythos. It is a really interesting campaign setting for D&D games. I'm trying to think. I've read a number of them that are inspired by. I really love people taking, like I'm on record as being like, you can't run everything in D&D. But D&D sort of having that quintessential white European fantasy / we tried to throw some other stuff on top. If we put everything in the pot, it's fine.
Right.
But I am a really big fan of people bringing their own culture, their own experience to that game to show that fantasy is not just white Euro-centric medieval fantasy,
Yeah, exactly.
that doesn't have to be the default. So, that one is really good. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. I'm trying to think if I have a game in particular that stood out to me. I feel like, gosh, in the last 2 years, having read so many games, I feel like my brain hurts, trying to think of stuff. People are like, do you have any suggestions? And I'm like,
I know I read a bunch.
Y'all, there were almost 500 submissions last year. This year, there were 730 something.
Goodness. How do you read that many?
I mean, the good news is that not all of them are games. Not all of them are full games. There's also adventures, there's accessories, there's,
That's true.
So some of them are shorter. Some of them are zine style shorter games. But yeah, it's a lot of work. But there's also podcasts, websites, so some things don't take as long as other things. But yeah, it does all mash together in my brain sometimes. It's I know I do have a thing for that. What was it? But yeah, I think it's, I would say for me, it's The Islands of Sina Una by Hit Point Press. If you're looking for it, it is a D&D 5e campaign setting.
There you go.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then, yes, Coyote and Crow is inspired by a lot of Native American mythos, a lot of Native American cultural background in that one. Again, that's also one that I have read but not played. So, not totally sure how it works in practice,
Right. Right.
But yeah, very interesting, very beautiful book.
Absolutely.
I know that there are more. If I think of them, we can maybe put them in the show notes or something. But
there you go.
Yeah. It's my short answer. That took 8 minutes.
That's fine. All right. Here's my question from Kevin. If Necromelia needed to be redeemed, how would Magical Girl Ryan do it?
Oh, okay.
It almost feels like it's the same answer. The undying love.
Undying bonds of love and friendship.
Undying bonds of love and friendship. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we covered a lot of Magical Girl stuff in the last Q&A episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just showing that necromancy can be more than just raising the dead.
Right.
And raising the bonds of love and friendship is really cool too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this question is kind of under false pretenses, though, is if Necromelia needed to be redeemed, which obviously she doesn't. She has no desire whatsoever to be redeemed. How dare you imply that there's anything wrong with her to begin with?
Exactly. There you go.
All right. This question is also an anonymous one. Favorite character you've created? And I like this caveat in here because clearly this listener has listened to our show. Or top 3.
Or top 3. Yep.
I think that we have been pretty clear over the course of these Q&A episodes that we, A, are really bad at remembering what we have done.
Yep.
And B, love all our children equally.
We do. Well,
fairly equally. I mean, I think I do have ones that stand out to me more. There's a bunch that I would say to. I think there are definitely ones that I'm I would love to take this to a game. And there are ones that I'm
absolutely.
They're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like my D&D character from Series 1. I think they were just a generic monk.
I think I remember the name of the practice one that I made, but I don't think I remember the name of like the actual real one.
I don't even know what you made. I don't, it's been so long.
I think I made a druid in our practice one.
Okay.
Tess Greenleaf. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
But goodness gracious. I mean, for me, high up on the list is the Thirsty Sword lesbian characters that we made.
Yeah.
Just because that game is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Which recently, as of the release of this episode, a month and a half ago, won something
Yes.
pretty prestigious.
Yeah, they won a Nebula, which is like
that's pretty sweet.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like not a small deal. Yeah, for best rating, they won a Nebula.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So that one, I really enjoyed Dirge. I mean, Dirge Stranglethorn has to be on the top of my list.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that you can't put Dirge on the list. Dirge was life-changing for you.
It's life-changing. Like, seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I could probably think of a third one, but this is where it gets kind of difficult.
I think I want to put Beatrice from our Masks game. I know I keep bringing up that Masks one. I just really loved those characters so much. Ooh. I feel like if we're going through like, I mean, it just says favorite. So like, I don't know. Yeah. Like this is so
and
hard.
This is like of all time, right? Even off of the show.
Right.
So like, yeah, I would have to put the OG
I guess
Mishra.
It does just say that you've created. So that doesn't have to be.
Right. So I'm going to say OG Mishra from Heroes Unlimited.
I don't feel like I want to go that far though. I mean, I guess in which case, like, like I would have to put my first L5R character, Isawa Natsume, on that list. If I'm just sticking with the show stuff, I honestly really love my character from our Unbound series, Luminance Edge, my Street Fighter samurai with a fluorescent light bulb sword. Yeah. That
was a very good character.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. I'm really bad at remembering the names of my characters though. Because I really enjoyed my pirate magical girl from that series.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was her name? It had like a sky theme to it. I just like re-listened to these ones not that long ago too.
Right. And then of course Alchemistresses was a fun character.
Yeah, like I'm struggling not to just like pick recent ones because those are the ones that are fresh in my mind, you know.
So
I mean, it says or top 3. So, like, I've named my favorite or top 3. I would like top 2. Like, we'll meet you in the middle. How about that?
Top exactly. 2. There's too many. I gave probably like 6 or 7 characters.
I don't know. I'm like waiting for people to write in and be like, what about this one? And he'd be like, oh, yeah.
Yes.
I did forget about that one.
They're all fantastic.
Right.
It's fine.
I mean, I did really like her brilliance in our Chimera game.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is
so many good characters.
Okay. Yeah.
let's go to the next question. I think we answered that well enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think we get very clear, concise. Like all these questions. And like 2 hours later, what was the question again? I'm still talking.
All right. This question is from Fabian. How do you deal with the fact that there are way more cool RPGs coming out than you will ever have time to play?
I would say that I slowly cry myself to sleep many nights wondering, will I live long enough? Is there enough peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the world for me to eat that I could live long enough to cover all of these games? No, honestly, it is. I'm not going to say I lose sleep over it, but it is definitely something that like eternally frustrates me as somebody who is polygamorous. That there's just not enough hours in the day. Like even if this was my full-time job and I devoted my life to RPGs, there's no way that I could ever play this many just because it, you know. Like
even if you did a 4-hour block for one game every day for a year.
There's 365 games.
There's 365 games and that's not even scratching the surface.
Gestures wildly to the giant shelf behind me.
It's like you can play all these games, but like at what point does it just become a like I don't know, I almost want to say chore, right? To just power through them all. Right? Like are you even
really
enjoying
say do what you
them?
love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And I say do what you love every day and you won't love it anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is like there are so many games coming out, and like even if we add the caveat that not all of them are cool to me, not all of them are Amelia games, there's still just like too many.
There's so many. Oh yeah.
There's too many.
I mean, that's kind of the curse of this show too, is like, and the blessing, right? Because we want to cover so many games, and we get 12 a year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we will never be wanting for content to cover, only for time to cover it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get things together. It takes time to do them, and it takes time to, like in this scenario, it would take time to play them, and we would have to have a dedicated group and blocks of time, like even once a week. That's only 52 games a year.
I just sat down and had a session 0 for my first campaign in almost a year.
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't play games. I don't get to, like, I always tell people, I'm like, I talk about them. I read them. I am involved with them, but I don't play them. Yeah,
we are both really in more of the theoretical portion of game playing, right?
Absolutely. And I understand the concept of games. I do believe that there are people out there who occasionally play them as well.
Yep. We dabble.
Right. I mean, you at least like work on some game design stuff too. I'm just like, I don't play them, I don't write them, but I will judge them.
Yes. And I do have 2 groups going at the moment for 2 different campaigns. So I mean, that's something, but like that's 2 games.
Right.
We're doing Beyond the Wall and Symbaroum.
Right. And those aren't necessarily like, you know, like they're not necessarily always weekly games. They're not, you know, the one I'm doing now is going to be a Star Wars game, and we're going to do every other week. Ideally, fingers crossed, every other week.
That'd be nice.
Although I believe I have sold my group on playing Arium on weeks when we can't have everybody there, because one of the big themes that we wanted to play with was like exploration. And I was like, what if we played Arium in between and made up our own planets? And everybody's like, yes, let's do that. And I was like, yes, sold.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So I was like, that would be a really good activity to have like a mini game in between on weeks when you can't have everybody there.
Oh, yeah. That'd be amazing.
Right? I was like, oh.
Well, especially for Star Wars, right?
Right. Well, that was the thing. And especially after everybody said, like, okay, we want exploration to be a concept in this game. I was like, what if we made up our own planets?
Yeah.
Because so many people were like, well, I'm like familiar with Star Wars, but I'm not like deep in it, you know, enough to like know all the lore and know all these planets. And, you know, and I was like, all of the planets are dumb anyway. So, like, there's no way that anything we come up with is going to be worse than what Star Wars already did. Because
it's all just single biome planets. This is the desert planet.
Right.
This is the lava planet.
Yeah. So, and, you know, like, I'm on record as saying I love mini games within games to do those kinds of things. Yeah. And I think it's another way to get some more buy-in about, like, this is a planet we're going to visit. We've established some things. I think it probably, ideally, will help our GM to kind of like go in with these hooks, because in Arium you create like some people, some places, some concepts. My dog is barking behind me. You create some people, some concepts, some places, so like hooks for the GM to pull on too. So yeah, none of this is answering the question about playing cool games. But basically I'm saying I have found a way to combine 2 games into one to be able to play more games.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I like that a lot. It reminds me, like, if I could ever get Chimera to a point where I would start doing a space opera module. Yeah. The thought was you create the planets like you created your like origin planet and whatnot. Yeah. And so like everywhere you go, you can either do it in like mini mode where you only pick a few tropes and then see how that works out, or you could just go all in on world building for a planet. So like in those situations where you don't have everybody, you could just make a planet.
Yeah, I'm really big into anything that gives you the option to continue playing when people aren't there without missing things. Because I don't love like just continuing with a session when you're missing a player.
Right.
But I also strongly believe that momentum is really important in keeping up with a campaign. That once you start missing a month or something because you're only playing every other week, and like I've had so many games fail that way because it just gets hard to keep up. It's like, okay, well, if we don't play this week, do we wait 2 weeks? Do we try it for next week? And then the schedule's like, and so anything that kind of allows you to still keep going without anybody really missing anything. But still keeping the momentum of that campaign too, not just like switching to a whole different game. So I feel like that was a good little way to do stuff in between. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think the answer is just I cry myself to sleep every night.
Yeah, and I tend to not think about it.
Yeah.
Because it would drive me up a wall.
Right. I think the answer really is just denial.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, there's no games being released. What are you talking about?
I don't understand what you're talking about. Games? I've never heard of her.
Yeah, I know.
That's no game. That's my wife. Okay, next question. What system are you least looking forward to? I have no clue how to answer that. I
don't either. I mean, because it's like even the new Marvel game, which we kind of talked about last time or the first time. I can't remember. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it to see what it's about.
Yeah,
but I guess I'm not excited about it, I guess.
Here's the thing is like, I don't have enough space in my brain to hold all of the games that I am excited for. So I think that there aren't any that I'm not looking forward to because I've just like there's no space for it. It just isn't. It's not on my radar. Right. Like I don't think that there are games that I've looked at and been like, ugh, that's terrible. Yeah. I'm going to keep track of that.
Yeah. Or like you could also look at this question and say, of all the ones that you're really excited about, which one are you the least excited about? And that just doesn't seem right.
Well, that's a stupid question. Sorry, Anonymous. What a dumb question. At least I don't understand. No, I because I think honestly, like I can't even name ones I'm looking forward to. Like,
well, because see the last question there's just too many games.
Right.
So yeah, our answer would be
because, dear listeners, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before. I probably have. And a thing that I frequently tell my friends is the brilliance of having ADHD is like out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of times extremely frustrating, but sometimes it means that the world is full of surprises that I have kept even from myself. So very occasionally what happens, I shouldn't say very occasionally, all the time, people, what happens is I get really excited about something. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a new game. It's coming out. It's on Kickstarter. I back the Kickstarter. And then several months later, a game shows up at my door and I'm like, that is a gift from past Amelia. So like the idea that I would be like looking forward to or not looking forward to a game is bananas to me because I don't even look forward to the ones that I'm looking forward to because I've forgotten about them. Like there are games that I have like fully backed on Kickstarter. Like I know I'm getting the like nice copy, the special edition cover, whatever. Yep. But like that's in 3 months and Amelia 3 months from now is not going to know that she did
where this came from.
So yeah. It's a big, exciting world.
I know. There you go. All right. Next question is, why all the blood magic? This is from Anonymous. So much blood magic.
Okay. This is another one that I...
you took notes on this one?
I believe I did.
Let me get out my dissertation.
Because I get this question from people a lot about like, okay, like enough with the evil stuff, That's
really funny.
Okay. So I'll read what I wrote here and then I can kind of expound on it. I wrote, because I'm fascinated with the subversive nature of dark magic and the idea of channeling our own life force. Also with the love surrounding dark and forbidden magic in a lot of settings. So, or with the lore, sorry, I can read my own writing. Also with the lore surrounding dark and forbidden magic in a lot of settings. So one of the things for me that is really powerful about dark magic is that in a lot of settings, it is this sort of like dark mirror of what society thinks a person is supposed to be like. Particularly when you look at the Sith in Star Wars and also at Shirito in L5R. Both of them are about yourself and your relation to the world as opposed to this like outward looking. It's selfishness as opposed to selflessness. And I think especially in Star Wars, when you look at the Jedi, it is this idea of like what you are supposed to do for the world. And the way that you use this thing to help other people at the sacrifice of your own identity and your own self. And as someone who has gone through some struggles in life, who has had problems with their identity, who has been in an abusive relationship, the idea of reclaiming my sense of self and doing something entirely because it is good for me is really important to me. Being able to say, no, I don't have to. And I think some of this is like being a mom in modern society too, which is the thing that I talk a lot about like the idea that my identity should be Nate's mom and not Amelia. But the sense of like, I get to own myself and my choices and do things because they are good for me. And not just good for the world, which I think like we are raised in this sort of like Judeo-Christian puritanical society of like, everything I do should be for the good of everyone else and sacrifice myself. And like, that's not always healthy. Like we do it to an unhealthy degree. And so a lot of it for me comes from this like reclaiming of myself.
Yeah.
There is definitely part of it that's just like, what a cool aesthetic. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that,
got
like,
those blacks and reds.
Like,
and,
that there's not some part of it that's like, oh, you're secretly a little bit goth. But there definitely is more to it for me than just, you know, like, blood magic. And the idea that, like, you know, especially in blood magic, that, like, the force that I'm using to channel this thing is my own life force. This isn't something that I am pulling from somewhere else, that I am relying on another source. Again, it's about myself and the power within me. Yeah. And those things are very important to me.
Yeah, it's great.
So that is my thoughtful answer. Also, the clothes just look dope.
The aesthetic is phenomenal and extraordinarily Yeah. Like also it's great aesthetics. Like it's just cool. It's just cool.
Yeah. But there's
there's
more to
a reason why the villains like look the coolest in a lot of shows.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, blood magic looks cool. And self-reclaiming,
self-actualization. Yeah,
there you go.
Oh.
Like it. Very cool. All right.
Oh, that's right. It is my question. Okay, so on that note of, you know, like really deep lore and understanding, Ryan, vanilla or chocolate?
This is honestly a complex answer for me.
Oh.
If I had to choose one, it would be vanilla.
Of course it would.
Of course it would. Simply because
don't be one of those people that's like, it's actually such a really complex flavor.
No, nothing like that. It's it's a nice simple flavor. That's why I like it a lot, because it's like if I want something like simple, smooth, and something that I can add stuff to, right? Vanilla's my go-to, right? Ideally, vanilla mixed with chocolate. The twisty swirl.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Ryan, once again, folks,
is at the top of the list.
Making a decision.
But it's a decision. Like there's a reason why when I go to Tom's and I get an ice cream cone, it's going to be a twist, right? Because
where's Tom's?
Tom's? Oh, you don't have Tom's down there?
I
My
don't think
gosh,
so.
Tom's Drive-In is it's like a
Oh, we don't have drive-ins down here, Ryan. Come on, this is the big city.
I know, right? There's a big city near Milwaukee.
The big city, the population 17,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even if I go to Culver's, I'll get vanilla and chocolate.
Okay.
But they'll just scoop them together and it's not as fun.
See, if I go to Culver's, I get a mixer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
all
vanilla and chocolate is my go-to.
All right. But if you had to pick one, you'd pick vanilla.
I'd have to. I mean, chocolate has too many varieties. Mm-hmm. There's like, darker chocolate, chocolate swirl, chocolate fudge, all this other chocolate stuff.
Yeah, but usually when you go and get chocolate ice cream, you're just like, chocolate. I guess this question doesn't specify ice cream. It does just say vanilla or chocolate. It doesn't specify
ice cream.
But I don't know like what other situation you'd be in where they're like vanilla or chocolate. Because like nobody hands you like a box of chocolates and it's like vanilla or chocolate. They would be like white or dark,
and
right?
like yogurt, you can get vanilla yogurt, but chocolate yogurt?
I mean, you can. Like Yoplait makes like a chocolate mousse yogurt.
You can,
it's not bad, but it's definitely still yogurt.
Uh-huh.
Which, by the way, I want to go on record as saying, y'all, frozen yogurt is not ice cream. Stop it. If you want to eat frozen yogurt is fine. That's fine. But stop pretending it's ice cream. Because it's custard. Not.
Frozen custard is better than ice cream.
Frozen custard, absolutely better than ice cream. I also think ice cream is still better than frozen yogurt. I would rank it frozen custard, ice cream, frozen yogurt.
I'd frozen custard, ice cream, frozen yogurt.
Right. Right.
And I don't know if I've had enough frozen yogurt to have a good opinion on it, but I do know it is lesser than ice cream in terms of experience.
Right. Like for me, for sure. I think like if you love it, you go for it. I know people that love frozen yogurt, but stop telling me that it is a replacement for ice cream because it is not. It is not. I'm so okay.
YOLO Froyo.
No. Just because you can put toppings on it. No. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I avoid. I come to think of it, I don't know if I've ever had frozen yogurt simply because people kept calling it Froyo.
That's a good reason to.
I'm pretty sure that's
not had a ton of it. Like I'd had it here and there when it was like the only option. And then my sister did work at a frozen yogurt place for a while. So we would go every so often. And like a lot of them have school fundraisers and stuff.
Okay.
Although they do seem to split it like 50-50 between like, is it at Smart Cow, the frozen yogurt place, or is it at Roberts, the family-owned custard establishment down the street? In which case, for sure, going to Roberts.
Yeah.
That's a whole other situation here that people don't really need to know about. The answer for me is definitely chocolate. If you look at my pinned tweet right now that has like all of my bio information, the very last one says that I do not like roller coasters. I think vanilla ice cream is boring and flamingos are my favorite animal.
There you go.
So I felt important enough, like that it was important enough to put in my bio that I have a pretty strong opinion on it.
Well, there you go.
But I have stronger opinions on frozen yogurt than I do on chocolate or vanilla. So we just lost a lot of listeners right there.
But
we're from Wisconsin, so we have strong opinions on these things.
We know dairy.
On dairy-based desserts. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Welcome to dairy, delicious dairy discussion.
Yep. D3.
All right.
Okay.
Next question. This one's from Derek D. Any tips for making NPCs that fit in settings but aren't too tropey?
Yeah, actually, I think for me, a thing that I've said throughout the course of this show over the last 4 years is that characters become characters to me when they have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you can make the tropiest NPC in the world.
Yeah.
But like, if you add some flaws to them as a person, it starts to take away from that. Provided that the flaws are not like part of your trope, right?
Right.
Which is where my love for random tables absolutely comes in.
That's what I was going to say. When I did very short stint of running D&D, all the NPCs I created, there was this random table. I can't remember what book it was in. I think it was a 3.5 book somewhere. You could roll.
Sure.
No, it was a D&D 3.5 book.
You'd be like, duh.
Come on.
You fooled me before.
I know, right? No, but there's a random table for like random NPC quirks, right? And so you could go to this table and be like, roll it up and, oh, this person has a stutter. This person has like a nervous tick. Or this person has, you know, like, or you know, whatever, has like a mole or
some
whatever
kind of
that they're conscious
or
about.
defining feature or
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because like I could roll up an NPC or say, oh, you meet the shopkeeper and roll the table and play them however it rolls up, right? And that gives them this nice little flavor. Usually it's kind of, you know, something memorable, like a flaw or whatever that the NP or the characters will remember. It did throw them off when I rolled this person is nervous. They thought they were hiding something. They're just socially awkward and nervous.
Right.
It's like they were literally just a guild master that was socially awkward and nervous. And what do you want? It's not, they're not up to no good.
I mean, that's the one thing about players, right? Is that like every so often they look for things that are not there and you're like, no, y'all, no. I'm playing through Wonderlands right now. It's a great game. Cannot suggest it enough, especially if you love the Borderlands games. Wonderlands is phenomenal. But there are a couple missions like that where like Tina is playing the bunker master and she's, you know, she's like, okay, you meet a guy in a blue hat and they're like, seems shifty. And she's like, no, he's just a normal guy in a blue hat. And they're like, no, we got to find out what he's up to. He's probably up to something secret. And like this whole mission of like chasing this guy around. And she's like, guys, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just a normal guy. And like, it was so relatable. Like, so then she like ends up, you know, like she's like, fine, I don't know, find a secret door, I guess. Like, it's just because like they won't let it go. And it was like, wow, that's like the most relatable gaming experience ever of like players being amazing. Like, no, there's definitely something here. And you being like, no, there really isn't. I cannot really stress this enough. He is normal.
He's just a little different than all the other boring NPCs.
Yeah.
I think random tables are your friend in these scenarios, honestly. Like,
yeah, definitely. I think because it does, you can't be tropey when you're just randomly picking things, you know? And
be upfront with your players too. Say, hey, I'm rolling random personalities for some of these characters that you're meeting. Don't look into it too much, you know?
I love that you think that that's going to stop them. So, like, the moment you're like, don't look into pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Right. But I mean, if you have a table of open communication, right, and like a lot of things are quote unquote on the table, then it's going to be a little bit easier for your players to just ignore some of those random quirks that make NPCs people instead of just, I'm the tavern person. I'm the shopkeeper. I'm the guild master. I'm the town guard. It's like, no, this is the town guard named Jerry that, you know, has hiccups like 90% of the time.
He's got a wife and 3 kids at home. He's dealing with some financial issues, but you know, they're keeping their heads up.
Exactly. And like literally two or 3 random tables, you can get all those sorts of little details and goodness gracious, flesh out those NPCs.
Definitely.
Pretty easily.
Definitely. And there are like whole books that are just, you know, for creating NPCs and personalities and things like that.
Yeah. And if Amelia ever gets on it and makes those tables of random hats and scarves and other accessories.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Sells them on itch for $1.
I'll put them on itch for $1. Yeah. I want them to all be like, you have to like use a different method every time. For like, this one is like, you must pull Jenga blocks from a tower. And however many you pull and then it falls down is the answer on the table. And then this one's just flipping a coin. And then this one is like,
oh, no.
Yeah.
They got to be easy.
Well, I'll make 2 versions.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is for the advanced, quote unquote, real gamers.
Yeah, this is for advanced Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Advanced D&D 5e.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. This question is from Kevin. What does it mean to Amelia-ize? or Ryan-ificate, your D&D game. Ryan, what does it mean to Ryan-ificate?
Okay.
I want to say like Ryan-ificate, but that sounds like pontificate, which is like not
right.
But like Amelia-ize sounds like ameliorate, which is like a whole different thing too. So
yeah.
What does it mean to Ryan-ificate your game?
So
I feel like Ryan-ize might be.
Ryan-ize. So traditionally, my games, if I'm homebrewing stuff, you can like be 90 to 95% assured it will involve multiple dimensions at some point.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Either you're going to be dimension hopping at some point, or going to another world that's alien and unknown previously to the civilization that you come from. All sorts of things like that. If I'm running like a full campaign of Swords, you know, somewhere in there that's going to happen. Because that gives you the option to blend genres. And now you're in my nonsense.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to point out that the word ameliorate, which is spelled like my name, does mean to take something bad and make it better.
Oh,
so
nice.
I just want to like point out that we could go ahead and like, it doesn't have to be ameliorize. Like we can ameliorate. In my opinion, in order to ameliorate D&D, in my games, it is really about there not being a clear definition of what is right or what is wrong. Not because I'm like, go nuts, nothing is right, like there's no rules, but rather because I think some of the fun is in having to make difficult decisions and having to like, I think a game is most interesting when it is not prescriptive, I guess, when it's not clear, this is the thing you have to do. Right. And I think when we infuse games with like a really strong like sense of morality or something like that, it takes away some of the fun for me, because it's like, okay, well, it's obvious what you want me to do here. So like, I guess we'll go to the thing, you know? Whereas like playing in that moral gray area forces me to really think about like, why am I making this decision as a character? And forces a little bit more role play and complexity on a game. So for me, it's really about there not always being a clear right or wrong, about having consequences to even good decisions. Because I think it opens a lot more avenues for role play. Yeah. And for like decision making for me as a player.
Can you imagine like a villain that is so into that, like, I'm doing the right thing, and they're so convincing about that the heroes join them?
Yeah. I mean,
instead of stopping them?
Right.
Like, wait, you're doing what?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Right.
Oh.
Right. I mean, I have like really strong feelings about like when I play L5R and you're playing this like samurai upper class in a feudal society of like, I'm not the good guy. Like, I'm not, you know? And that's a really interesting zone to play, especially like if you like with the caveat, like if you actually play in that zone. You know, if you don't make the assumption that, like, I'm here and I'm the good guy and any decision I make is the right decision. And, you know, like, I like being able to play with that of, like, okay, like, I'm socially doing the right thing, but morally, is that correct? You know, like, this is expected, but is it really right? You know? So that, in my opinion, is how you ameliorate a bad game.
Plus, why wouldn't you join up with the person that has the cooler aesthetic?
Well, right. I mean, that's like the important thing too, is like, you know, I don't, there's a Star Wars episode of Phineas and Ferb, where like Candace is a stormtrooper. There's a song about like in the Empire, and she's talking about it. And then like, there's a line in the song. It's like, plus I always look so good in white. Like, and I just think about that. Like, you just like look cooler.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Next question is from Anonymous. If you had to do a podcast about something unrelated to RPGs, what would it be about?
Ryan, it's time to talk about our accidental podcasting moment. I've been waiting for this question.
Yeah. Tell me about your thesis.
Yeah. So Ryan and I both independently had this thought and like didn't say, like, I've like never said it out loud because I'm like, if I say it out loud, it's real and I have to make a podcast. But for a long time, I've really been fascinated with like the really niche topics that people pick for their capstones and their theses and to like focus on in school. Yep. And so for me, mine was about voter participation in European Union level parliamentary elections. It was like, if we give more power to the European Parliament, which is the only directly elected body in the European Union, do people then, 1, participate more in parliamentary elections, and 2, view the European Union as being more democratic? That was my capstone project, right?
Nice.
The answer is no. They don't care. It is a deficit of caring, not of democracy. I forget how I worded it. It was more eloquent than that. But since then, I've been really fascinated with like, why do people choose the weird specific stuff that they choose? And we were having a conversation at one point where Ryan's like, yeah, I really want to start a podcast where I just like ask people about their theses. And I was like, me too.
I know. If we had time. My goodness.
Yeah, that was one of those. Like, if our Patreon makes enough money, someday, I would love it. Pie in the sky.
If we could get it to a point where we just had to record it and like, throw like
it out pay there, somebody else to edit it or whatever. Yeah, because those ones like wouldn't have to be 6 hour. You know, be like a one kind of episode.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could easily, honestly, get away with 1 hour recording with one person once a month and release on a monthly cadence. And those would be the easiest things to edit.
Right. Because it's just discussion. It's
like, I could probably get it done within an hour. Tops.
Right. So this is our pie in the sky dream that we accidentally had, once again, the same podcast idea. And it was like this aha moment of like, if only we had time. Right.
I know.
But this has been for both of us, I think, for a while, a dream podcast of like, please tell me about
let us get excited.
Thing. Like,
let us get excited about the thing you are excited about, because like there's nothing better than that contagious joy of like listening to somebody in their element. Like it's like the pure human experience, like soaking that in.
Yeah. And for me, I think like on the other side of it is also just like the fascination of like, how did you end up there? Like how did you get so deep into something that you were like, let me look at Eurobarometer statistics to see which people in which countries feel that the European Union is specifically democratic, so that in 2010, you can write your capstone thesis paper and write that the UK does not care about the European Union, and if ever a country was going to leave, it would be them. And then a few years later, it's like, ta-da, I was right all along.
There you go.
Yeah. I want to know why you were right. I just think that was so funny that we had this moment of like, we both want to start the same podcast. Like, we can't. We cannot. We absolutely cannot.
We can't. Not right now. Maybe
but
once
like,
the kids are in,
is it really hard to like both be holding each other off?
Yeah.
Like,
and who's to say? I mean, like
someday.
6 years from now.
Someday.
10 years from now.
Yeah, if we've been doing this forever, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
I say, like, no, like really, if we have a Patreon at a point where like we can, you know, and I like have more hours in the day and, you know, whatever. I don't know why money is the thing. It's not. It's not.
It's literally time.
It's literally time. Yeah. Next question is from Daryl. What are 3 RPGs you haven't gotten to do yet, but are extremely looking forward to creating characters for in their systems?
Ooh.
We've answered this a little bit. I know Ryan wants to do Wanderhome, Lumen.
Yep.
Something else.
Gosh. Probably Coyote and Crow. It's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really would like to create characters in the Dune RPG.
Ooh.
Because it also has house creation.
What?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm for that.
I'm gonna put that on the list.
Yep.
I also am like really interested in the Fallout RPG because it is not a game that I would want to play. Because it does have some inventory management stuff, which we've discussed. But it is exactly what I would want a Fallout RPG to be.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in creating characters in it. Just because I do love Fallout. And I just want to like mess around with it without having to mess around with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, those are, I think right now, like the ones that have been kind of on my brain. I really want to do Dune. Having only actually read that book. I've only read the first one. The important one. Like in the last couple of years, I guess.
Right.
2020, I read it when I was not working full time. Read a lot of books, and I finally read Dune. And was like, oh, okay, I see why this is like the quintessential. Like, yes, it's problematic, but I see why it had the effect that it did. But the game is very interesting. What else?
Yeah, color me intrigued.
Yeah. I definitely think there's some others that I'd like to play around in. Like City of Mist really interests me.
Okay.
Is one that we haven't gotten to look at all yet. And I'm not super familiar with the base.
At least I did a spotlight on that one.
On City of Mist?
City of Mist way back. That was, I think, our first spotlight.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
But
I think it was... But yeah, we didn't create characters.
Yeah.
However.
Right.
But yeah, it looked really interesting. That was the one with the playing cards. It's like PBTA with playing cards, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess you did way back in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Okay.
A little baby segment.
Yeah. I was like August of 2018, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, right. Like, I think while I was gone at Gen Con, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Like peak like a month before I got divorced. So I was like maybe like a little busy. So okay, maybe not that one. But it seems interesting to me.
There's a lot of good games out there. Yeah. As we've established multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also like obviously we would love to cover some like maybe more classic White Wolf ones. I'd really love to cover Vampire or something at some point.
Yeah. Eventually. We'll get there.
Yeah. Just because it's interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of Vampire, this next question comes from Mike. It is, I feel like sometime in the 90s, the future of TTRPGs was a battle between Vampire the Masquerade and Rifts, and Vampire won. What? Those are words. We'll have words about, at least I know.
It's interesting because I think...
It kind of did, though,
It did. Like, I think, here's the thing, is like, I think Vampire won long term. I think short term, it did not.
Right.
I think there was a big surge in Rifts and games like it that were really crunch, like really skill heavy. But I think long term, Vampire is the one that has held on. So. Yes.
So the question continues. Have you noticed a movement in TTRPGs to remove crunch from games? I'm thinking of a simulationist systems like Heroes Unlimited versus more storytelling games like Masks. Or am I just an old man who came to TTRPGs via war games, strategy games, instead of an old man who came to TTRPGs from a creative background?
No, I don't think that you're just an old man.
Right.
I have no idea how old you are, but I think absolutely this is the trend. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because like the narrative of the RPG design experience, it really had been crunch up until almost the PBTA era began with Apocalypse World, right? And I believe that was early on, if I remember correctly. And once that started catching on more, that sort of narrative play just became more ingrained in the indie sphere of game development. And then that kind of moved even further. And even some of that is kind of seen in D&D 5e. They got rid of a lot of crunch from 3.5.
They did.
And now 5e is much more streamlined.
There's a lot fewer skills. There's a lot, we're doing a lot less with percentages and, all of that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know back in the day, Rifts, goodness gracious, was a behemoth of a system. Like I I can't even imagine utilizing all of the world books, all of the dimension books, all of the source books, all of the like source books of source books. It's like ridiculous, let alone the main books and then the conversion books and the it goes on and on.
Right. But think about that, though. Like, you're not doing that with D&D 5e either.
Exactly.
You know, like, even if you look at just official books for D&D, there's tons of them, and you're not using all of those.
Yeah. So. And I mean, riffs, they did come out with Savage World riffs, right? So like utilizing the same sort of setting, using the Savage World setting.
But which, again, that is a much lighter system.
I think that's the thing, is like getting rid of the complexity to make games more appealing to a wider breadth of people.
I think that I think it's a combination of things. I think that, it is about appeal to newer audiences, making them easier for people to come to. Yeah. I also think it is this surge in indie designers that you have games being made by people who are not lifetime game designers, that they're not people whose brains are working in that same space of like, I design games and that's what I do. You have people who are like, okay, like I'm a lawyer in my day job, or, you know, I am in tech. I am, you know, like anything. The variety of like day jobs of people that we've had on our show has been astounding. And it makes it more approachable for people to work in those spaces. I also think that we have had a rise in the sort of like toolkit kind of systems. You know, like the OGL has been around forever, right? Yeah. So like people have always been able to muck around in that. But now there are so many versions of that you can play around in, and obviously a variety of legal frameworks around those things, right? Like who owns them, and, you know, like what happens if you make something in Genesis is very different than like what happens if you, you know, do something in Lumen or Cortex or whatever. But you have the ability to utilize more of those, like not everything. It was like you're either working from the ground up or you're using the OGL. Whereas now it's like, okay, is it PBTA? Is it Cortex? Is it Savage Worlds? Is it, you know, like there's just so many options for people. Yeah. And I think as more of them become narrative, we see, you know, like breeds like, right? So like as more systems become narrative and more of these toolkits become narrative, the games overall are continuing to be more narrative. So I don't think it is just that you are an old person. I have no idea how old you are, Mike. I feel old sometimes, so unclear. But I don't think that you are wrong in seeing that pattern. I absolutely think that games are becoming more and more focused on storytelling. I think that... I think because we're delineating, because like war games and RPGs were kind of like this same connected, like same different versions of the same thing, right? Yeah. And now it's like, are you playing like Warhammer the mini game, or are you playing Warhammer the RPG? And they're totally different. Oh yeah, things, 100%. You know, so I think they've really split off from each other. And
it's not to say that there's not a place, right, for
sure,
like a hardcore strategy RPG out there, right? Right. And I know
and they do exist. Yeah,
there are a few that exist, and there's a few that are coming up. I know the Marvel one, we keep talking about. That one's supposed to be like heavily in the crunch and heavily strategic. So I'm not sure exactly what that's all going to entail, but you know, it's just one of those things. And like you said, the toolkits, right? The being able to make games from an existing system that's out there, like being
able
to
make
a
lot more
PBTA
approachable
game.
For new designers. I feel like if I were going to make a game, that's absolutely the route I would go. Is making adjustments.
I've got this idea for like a world, or I've got this idea for implementing a certain genre or whatever, and it's like, well, what framework's going to fit that?
I say that, and like the little bit of game design I was doing was like not even in a toolkit system. It was just like, I'm going to reskin a game, So, yeah,
exactly. So it's I don't know. Yeah, the barrier for entry for game design is much lower than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you have the internet, it's much lower to even sell these games.
Yeah. And I think, that's another thing too, right? Is that, it's easy for more people to get their hands on those games too. Yep. So I think it is a variety of factors. But yes, I do think that they are going that direction.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kevin asks, what rules or mechanics make it distinctly Ryan or Amelia-ish?
Oh, interesting. Oh, what rules or mechanics make it distinctly Ryan? I mean, I guess collaborative world building rules. Mm-hmm. Big for me. I mean, if you want to roll into my nonsense completely, anything that like gamifies the blending of genres or magical girls, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know about like if there are like specific mechanics. I guess for me, it is do mechanics advance story. Yeah. I think that's what really does it for me is that like are the way that you interact with the numbers in the game. Mm-hmm. Or is the way that you interact with the numbers telling of what you're doing narratively. Yeah. That's really where it's at for me.
I think so too, yeah. Absolutely. Because like there's nothing more disappointing than I'm going to do this really cool thing. My character's going to be amazing in this and you roll and fail.
Right.
And the result of that is you fail. And that's it. And now this is the next person's turn. And that's so
like you're just
boring.
trying the same thing. Okay, like you roll perception. Now you roll perception. Now you roll perception.
It's not interesting, right? But like in games like PBTA, it's like, oh, you roll this thing that's equivalent to perception, say, and you fail. It's not just a fail. Now the GM gets to throw something wild at you. The story gets turned upside down. And now you have to deal with something totally different that you didn't think you had to deal with. And it's part of the narrative.
I am going to also shout out to my BFF L5R here. And actually Cortex does this as well. Approaches. Big fan of approaches. I love
approaches. Yeah.
If what you roll is determined by what you are trying to do, and especially in those like perception or investigation kind of checks, if the information that the GM then provides is different based on how you went about doing that thing. So in L5R, when you like, roll with air, you're doing things in sort of like a roundabout kind of tricky way. If you do it with earth, you are doing it in a, sort of like stalwart kind of thoughtful way. Right. And I like when you then have to role play, so that you can't walk in and be like, I walk in and do this, I roll with earth. It's like, no, you don't. You can't always roll with your best stat. So I really like, again, when the mechanics enhance the play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, literally look at how I designed Chimera, and that's me in a game. Yeah. Right? Like it has approaches, it has collaborative world building, it has magical girls, it has like
we said mechanics,
narrative consequences.
Magical girl is not a mechanic.
I mean, there's a transformation mechanic.
Well, that's not really.
Wait, it's in there. Whatever. It's a stretch.
Okay.
It's fine.
Next question.
Next question.
Ryan can't just keep saying magical girls world building. That's not not a mechanic.
It's on repeat right now. Okay, next question. I apologize if we do not get this name correct. Niels Martin Strom Josefsen. Please let us know if we got that correct or not. This one is when preparing a game with, say, 4 pre-generated characters, do you have any advice for character creation?
Boy, howdy do I.
Yes, we do.
Allow players to make some choices.
Yes.
So when I ran O5R at conventions, I shout out to Katrina Ostrander, who is one of the designers of the game and did this in her game, and kind of gave me the tools to do it myself. But I created the character sheet sort of playbook style so that people could kind of finish the character. So basically what I did was like I made them halfway and then said, instead of like, okay, pick 10 skills and then put them over here, I was like, you can pick from this or this. Instead of handing them a book and saying like, go, you say, okay, do you want A or B? Just enough to kind of like flavor things. So when you get to that point of like advantages or disadvantages, give them a list, let them circle, you know?
Yeah.
So it's enough to let people, like you lead them right up to the finish line.
Yes.
I also suggest if your question is more like, how do you make pre-generated characters? Give people sort of a variety of options. I think if you're planning on having 4 players, maybe have like 6 characters.
Yes.
And give people like a taste of like each thing that you can kind of do. And it's up to you, I guess, whether you are like, okay, we can have 2 wizards or like only one person can play the wizard. But just remember that like, you know, not everybody at the table wants to do the same thing, or, you know, people do have their preferences, especially when you're playing with pre-generated characters. You want something that feels kind of like in your wheelhouse, I think.
I also like the pre-established relationships as well. Like when I go to a con game and we pick up the characters and we have to get into play right away, right? And here's your pre-gens, which one do you want? Then I can see, oh, this character is the best friend of this other character at the table.
Like that.
I do like that in terms of like, okay, now I get to role play this thing. Like one of my most memorable experiences was a 10-player, 2-table game of Cypher System where we had to travel, it'd be back and forth between the past and the future and all this other shenanigans. And then the tables got mixed up. But like, my character was just this veteran soldier that I was like, I don't know the system. I'm kind of shy to playing in conventions. This is my first convention. I'll pick the easy character, right? Turns out this guy was a father to another character that at the other table.
Gotcha.
And I was like, this person is your son. And I'm like, I don't know. This person's not at my table. I guess they're probably at the other table because all the characters are taken. And then once those met up, now I had this huge hook on how to play with this other character.
Yeah, see, as somebody who's like super socially awkward, I don't like that because it's like the potential of like, okay, now you have to like link up and role play with this person that you don't know. And like, I feel sort of like I understand that like in some instances it definitely could be like a way to get people to talk to each other and, you know, like that kind of stuff. But also I'm like, okay, now I like am tied to this person. I don't know what their role play style is. I don't know. So I would honestly go back to like the sort of like leaving blanks is have some of those links like available to people maybe. And like let them pick if they want to do it that way.
Right. Or make them less severe. Like my first con experience was with Numenera. And it was like when you use your firepower, this other person's fire that is constantly there turns your color.
Interesting.
So it's like my firepower was green. So whenever I use my firepower, somebody else's character's fire turns green as well.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just this like weird little link that doesn't technically matter, but it's a fun little thing. Yeah,
I think like, you know, we always talk about like having those relationship questions too. I think is a good, they don't take a lot of time, but you know, like letting people kind of build some of those too.
I think if you leave those blanks, it's probably good.
Preparing pre-generated characters, I think my advice is just like, make sure you have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, kind of get them like 75 to 90% of the way there and then let other people do the rest.
Yeah. And it depends on your story too. If are these characters going to be integral to the story that you're going to be presenting, or does it not matter who the characters are and the story is going to happen, you know, how you had prepared it, and whoever is there, like if there's a rogue or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But like with the rogue, it opens up this other avenue. Without the rogue, it closes that avenue, and it's not a big deal, right? Because it really depends on the game you're playing, if you need a balanced group or not. If it's going to be like a combat heavy game, you don't want a bunch of characters that are not going to be combat capable.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff, right?
Right. And similarly, like if you have a game that's going to be like investigative, maybe don't make a character that's like super combat focused, because then like that player's going to be bored. Yeah, I definitely keep in mind the kind of game that you're running when you start making those characters, because you want to make sure that every character type has something that they're going to be able to do and do well for the advancement of the story. Yeah, that's definitely a mistake that I've seen people make, is that, like, you give somebody the, you know, the duelist or whatever, but you have no duel in your story. Like, you know.
Every character has to have a chance to shine in the story that you're preparing.
Yes.
And so if you have 6 characters, all 6 characters need a point that you can have them shine completely within that story. At least one major point. And if 2 of the characters aren't chosen, it has to be fine that those 2 major
make sure the
points
story
aren't
can move forward without them.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of a both pre-gen characters sort of thing, plus also story generation, right?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't really make it easy there, but that's our advice, right? Like, you know, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But make sure that your story and your characters fit, whether people pick them or not. And again, I think anything that gives players at least a little bit of buy-in, and lets them sort of make their characters their own, even if they are pre-generated, is going to go a long way.
100%.
Next question. Oh my God. Okay.
Of course you get this one.
How is a Ninja Turtle not a magical girl that just uses ooze to effect a transformation? I don't know, Jude. It's not. This is one of those, like, is a Pop-Tart ravioli? No. I'm not answering this question. The thing is what it is. A Ninja Turtle is not a magical girl. Please go away. Okay,
so 100% not a magical girl, and I'll tell you why.
Oh my God, please don't dignify him with a response.
No, we are professionals, and Jude is not going to derail this with nonsense.
I know, because that's what he wants. What he wants is us to fall apart. You're right. Please give him a well thought out answer, because that will make him the angriest.
So how is a Ninja Turtle not a magical girl that uses ooze to effect a transformation? This is the thing. Magical girls have 2-way transformations. They transform into their magical forms, and they transform back. Okay. And it's usually at will or within a certain time period or amount of effort, magical expenditure,
some kind of
whatever
factor that,
the ooze, from what I understand, and I could be wrong on this, it transforms from one creature into the, like, humanoid version of said creature. Right? Granting them sentience.
Right, they don't un-ninja or un-turtle.
Exactly.
Or un-mutant, I guess, really is the part.
Right. Now, there might be some storylines where they have de-evolutionizing ooze, but even then,
it's not a central focus of the story. And like balancing the difference between being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and just being like a regular teen or a regular turtle or a regular ninja isn't part of the story.
It's not a part of the story at all.
No.
Yeah. And it might have some self-discovery or whatever, but like it's not the main focus of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Just stop it. It's not the right genre. Just stop it.
It's not. It's a superhero genre. It's a subgenre of superheroes, just like Magical Girls is a subgenre of superheroes, but completely different in terms of tone and themes and all that sort of stuff. Plus, the ooze doesn't.
You can't transform back. I mean, I feel like that's really like the important part here is you cannot transform back. It's a mutation. Exactly. It's a permanent mutation. It's not Yeah,
you're not just transforming.
It's not magic. It's just gross. Yeah, agreed. That's just science.
That's just science.
That's just science.
Take that, Jude.
That's the last of his questions. Thank God.
That we know of. Watch, he'll have submitted one anonymously, and we'll have to answer that. Yeah, it's fine. All right. This next question is from Danny. Which character the other person has made do you think is the most like them? I.e., Ryan, which of Amelia's characters do you think is the most like her, and vice versa?
Oh man.
So your Masks character probably is high up on that list.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to say our Alchemistresses characters.
Okay.
Where we immediately, I was like, you're water, I'm fire.
Yep. It's just like right away.
I think that those might be
aside from like the jock portion of the character, because I am 100%.
I wasn't a theater kid either.
Right.
But like personality wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say personality wise for sure.
I mean, I don't think like I've shied away from, I mean, like I know I'm supposed to be answering for you, but I don't think I've shied away from making me as a character at all.
Her brilliance.
Her brilliance. Wow, really? That's the one you pick? That's the one you pick? The self-centered, like, great.
Just kidding.
Love it.
No, definitely your best character. The fiery, like, type of personality, but like, really grounded as well. And
I think because that's what's fun for me to play is like, I know that they're like me, but I think that it's a more confident, powerful version of me. Right. And like, again, it's fun for me to play at the table. It's fun for me to like be able to inhabit something that feels comfortable. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to do.
There you go.
I feel like we've made a lot of characters that are
like
similar to us, though.
And some characters very not, like Dirge.
Right. Yeah, I don't feel like I've stretched my legs all that much.
I mean, you've thrown some heroes in the mix.
I have. I've tried to make some like nice, genuinely like sweet people. Yeah. Okay, this question is an anonymous one. Ryan, why is Neptune your favorite?
All right. So
is it time for your thesis now?
Lots of thesis. Yeah, this is. Okay,
I did my blood magic one. This is your thesis time.
Back to the Quake 1 days of the internet. Like mid to late 90s, I'd say 96, 97 period of time. I was playing Quake 1 online a little bit with my modem and my keyboard only, no mouse.
Whoa.
And and I was also obsessed with Sailor Moon, of course. Mm-hmm. And I found a group that were playing as the identities of the Sailor Scouts in their team matches. So like you were able to like skin your character back then. So you would be able to upload any skin to your character to look however you like, but it's still the same boxy character.
Right. But you could pick colors and stuff. Yeah.
Colors and outfits and everything. So, right. Yeah. Like, and they had customized Sailor Scout outfits.
I love it.
For the Quake character. And it was ridiculous looking, but it was amazing. So I joined up and I was like, I definitely want, my first pick would have been Sailor Mercury. And my life would have been 100% different at that point. Right. Because water-based, right? Sailor Mercury was the original water-based Sailor Scout. And I was like, oh, that's so me. She's brilliant. She's amazing.
I just can't imagine you as like anything else.
Right. So, but Sailor Mercury was taken. So I was like, well, what's the next best thing? Sailor Neptune. I was like, okay, Sailor Neptune. I don't have much experience watching Sailor Neptune in the anime because the US episodes only went so far at that point. Mm-hmm. But the more I read about Sailor Neptune, the intelligence, the grace, the violin playing, piano, art, she does painting, like all this other like cultural stuff that's just like, I love that stuff too. Yeah. And it just kind of all fit. And then from there, it was just all downhill. And I just went from SMC, the Silver Millennium Clan, Neptune, to Sir Neptune in various places. And then I wanted to get a little bit more fierce. So I went with Lord Neptune instead. Okay. So it was more intimidating of a username when I joined Quake 3 servers and whatnot. Wow. And from there, Neptune's become my absolute favorite because, like, the teal and the cerulean color mix is just phenomenal. And plus she's amazing and she's a lesbian icon. So what do you want?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like shook. I can't believe that it wasn't always Neptune.
Right? Isn't it wild?
Who would you be today if you were Lord Mercury?
Oh, I don't even know if that would exist, honestly. I don't know if I would have, because Lord Mercury sounds kind of weird. I don't know why.
Would this podcast even be here? What is my life now?
What is there was a major inflection point in my life that would have diverged absolutely everything after that point.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know. The fates were kind to me, I guess.
I guess so.
Joined at the right time.
Wow.
I know.
Huh.
So there you go. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay.
Plus Neptune's a really cool planet.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin asks, what is a Ryan or Amelia themed D&D supplement book look like?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've kind of touched on some of this. Mine, well, not really. I guess we've touched on our themes. Mine definitely is going to talk about like dark magic and things like that. But I think it's going to do it in a more nuanced way than what is currently available in D&D. I don't think it's going to look like a lot of like chaotic evil and, you know, I think that is something that D&D definitely lacks with its alignment system is like any sense of nuance or subtlety. Yeah. So I think that would be something that I'd really want to focus on. And obviously the economic implications of raising the undead.
Absolutely.
100%. As I've been on record as saying.
I mean, mine would have to be genre blending nonsense again. I really think magical girls can fit very well in a D&D environment. It's a class that is not there. It's akin to warlock, but like in a different sense.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's its own class or if it's a subclass of warlock, right?
Magical girl?
Yeah, because I can kind of see it working both ways, right? But it's not like a pact between anything. It's not a purposeful pact. It's like a destiny sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it would almost have to be its own class at that point. And I think you could do a lot of fun things with it. And a lot of fun things with turning various spells into like cantrip level things, where you could just keep casting fireball or whatever. But like that's all you get, and you can only do it while you're transformed.
Interesting.
I don't know, something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to add to D&D. It certainly wouldn't be a vroom level of absurdity.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be magical girl the race selection.
Right.
I think that was
Yours
wrong.
Would be like a whole class.
Yeah, it would be a class that any race could become a part of, and it would just be destiny based instead of like whatever. So destiny magic, I guess. Yeah.
Mine would definitely be like more like a thesis on the use of.
I think yours would probably sell better, honestly. I think so.
I don't know.
Like there'd be a lot of people that'd be into that. Well, I mean, still mechanics of like adding nuanced blood magic and necromancy to like D&D player characters.
Yeah.
Would be phenomenal.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
I think so too. I think we got off a little bit, but we'll keep rolling with it.
That's fair.
That's fine.
I asked 2 in a row, sorry.
You did. That's fine. Has your favorite genre changed since doing C3? Has your perspective or things you like, dislike, want, don't want in and about RPGs changed since doing C3? This question is from Anonymous.
No.
Gosh.
I mean, I feel like, so we did, when we talked about when we redid our episode 0, we talked a little bit about this, about like, you had this sort of change of like, liking things to be a little more complicated and things like that. And I honestly don't feel like I've shown the level of growth as a human that you have. No.
Well, because you were already creating complex characters, right?
I mean, yes. I think we just kind of came from like different backgrounds to it. Like I didn't start playing until later. and like I played like one campaign when I was in high school, and then I didn't play again until I was an adult. So it wasn't, it was already, you know, like I was a parent, and, you know, life was more complicated, right? No, I don't think that I don't think I've grown as a person. No, because I still really love like cyberpunk. I really love sort of space magic-y kind of things. I like, you know, like I still not really into the traditional fantasy. No, I don't think it has. I think the answer for me is just no, it hasn't.
And that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, I think like I want to be like, oh, I've like learned so much, and I have. Yeah. I have. Like I've been exposed to a lot of new things, but I think more than anything, it's sort of solidified that I like what I like. Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to try more things, and you know, like I see. I don't want to say I see the value in things that I didn't before, because I think I did, but I've gotten better at like understanding why other people like those things, maybe. But as a general rule, no, I don't think my stuff has changed much. Yeah.
For me, it's definitely reinforced some things, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely like opened my eyes to a bunch of things as well, obviously. Like adding the extra complexity to characters is definitely great. But like before C3, I didn't really think about RPGifying magical girls. Before C3, it was like riffs, fantasy worlds, and cyberpunk and superheroes, and that's all I really knew for RPGs. Cyberpunk is still well up there on the list of one of my favorite genres to tinker around in, though, because of, you know, the anti-capitalist nature of it all and everything. But like magical girls, you know, that's just top tier right now. So why not?
Right. Why not?
Absolutely.
I had to laugh because I was discovering, I mean, it was like maybe a year ago that I had this conversation, but when Jude and I first became friends, like 5-ish years ago or whatever, like the running joke was that he was like really into like evil things, and I was like not, right? And then like as time went on, I was like thinking about like the books that I like and the things that I'd read and like the stuff that I did, and I was like, oh, actually I was just in denial.
Yep.
Like actually I really love dark magic, and like one of my favorite book series was like about necromancy, and like I was like, oh. So
yeah.
There was a time when I pretended that this wasn't who I am, but it is. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm okay with that.
I that's fine. I have all that goodness inside of me, but I also have a soft spot for the allure of the dark side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
My question or your question?
Whoops, now? I did not. I accidentally did this one.
Okay. A movie studio finally takes the bait and offers to make a movie about your characters. Which series do you pick to go on the big screen or small screen if you prefer streaming or a TV series instead? This one's from Danny again. Answer number 1, Danny, actually our series, because why is it not a Hallmark movie, Danny? Why?
Right.
Why is our Christmas Belonging series with this sweet honey kiss in, you know,
in the time travel nonsense? Yeah. Like Goldpin.
Like Goldpin. I already made up a whole soundtrack for it.
I know.
So,
it is so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. Other big blockbuster type.
Well, the other one obviously is our Inspector series needs to be a TV series. Like I know that I picked the two that were already like based on TV shows, but like I think those are like clear winners, right?
Right. For the other one, like Unbound comes to mind.
Yes.
Would be phenomenal.
I would absolutely watch that. Yeah.
Like that aesthetic was just like
Chef
amazing.
Kiss. Yeah.
CRT punk is I think we called it.
That's what we called it, yeah.
That'd be amazing. Too many of them. Yeah. Gosh. But yeah, there you go. I think those are our top answers.
Yeah, I would say so.
Absolutely. All right, we got only a couple more questions left. We're a little over in time, but I think we can power through these last three.
At this point we should, for sure.
All right. This question comes from Ian. We all know that in general, point-buy systems are not where it's at for you. Honestly, same. But what sort of character creation system features would it take for you to give point-buy a try? Now, I'm more pro point-buy than you, I think.
Yeah, well, because it involves math.
Yeah. So I honestly love a good point-buy system where I can min-max the heck out of a character.
Yeah.
Where I can be like, okay, if I buy these things and then I give up, these flaws and to get more points, then maybe I can get this other thing, and then here's this really cool character that can one shot everybody at level 1 or something.
Okay.
Something ridiculous. I would like to just min max the heck out of it, and especially if it's like a strategy based sort of game, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, so like, here's the thing. It's like, I'm not totally against point buy. For me, it really is just like about the math.
Yeah.
It just needs to, I think my biggest problem with point buy systems, honestly, and I think trying to make a Star Wars character recently solidified this, is that when there are very clear answers about how you should spend your points, right? Like there's clearly a right way to do it. Somebody in our game recently was like, okay, can you just like remind me like how to do it? And I was like, yeah, you put all your points into characteristics, and then when you have 2 left over, you buy 1 thing from your skill tree, right?
Right.
Like that's just how you like, ta-da, solved it for you.
Right.
And so I think that's my big thing, is that I want there to, like, I want it to really be up to me. If you're going to let me buy things, if you're going to give me a system where you say, do whatever you want, I want to be able to do whatever I want. I want it to not be...
No trap options.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, like, with the characteristics, it's like, well, you can't level them up later unless you complete a full skill tree. And so it's like, well, okay, you've just had, like, you give me all these points, but I'm not really... Like, why didn't you just say, like, here's 4 things, split them among your characteristics and call it a day?
Exactly. And a pet peeve of mine is, hey, if you upgrade these during character creation, it's cheaper than if you do it during advancement. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, then of course I'm going to upgrade them during character creation. Right. Why wouldn't I? And now I'm missing out on all this cool stuff because you're telling me I have to upgrade the boring stuff for more price later?
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's like, if it's going to be point buy, I want it to truly be a point buy and truly be my decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And make it fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Second last one. Here we go.
Yeah.
This question is from Mix. Why? Not about CCC or anything, just like at all.
Yeah, why?
When this question came across our Discord, my answer was, why not?
Why not?
And I feel like I'm going to stand by that. I had a 5th grade teacher that would put that on the end of tests. He would put why, and the right answer was why not.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, why not indeed? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a more succinct answer to this last night. I was like, oh, I'll save that for the recording. But then I just forgot about it all. Honestly, it's good too, instead of not. And so why not?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
plus blood magic and magical girls. Right. So why not? Follow your bliss.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
Nice life advice thrown in there.
Right. Follow your bliss. Got it.
Mm-hmm. All right. The final question, the question that we didn't randomly put here, we put it here at the end because it just made sense too. This is from Anonymous. What question do you most want someone to ask of the show? I don't want the answer, just the question.
I love that.
And I think we put this here because it was very difficult to get through this question. It was like the 4th one that we asked originally, and I cut that out.
Right. Because I think we were like, well, let's answer all these other questions and then see if there's anything that we still want to be asked.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of really good questions.
I think so. I mean,
over these 3 episodes.
Really, like, these were some thought-provoking questions. There were some that were really difficult to answer, some that were just like fun, but question do you most want someone to ask of the show?
Yeah, I really liked all the questions that came in. I don't know. There's probably a lot more questions that you can ask. I'm always curious what fans are curious about.
Yeah.
And I know I'm mostly an open book about whatever. So if we do this again next year, or in another 4 years, just keep an eye out for when we have that forum open and throw some questions our way. I don't think
I have anything else. I want to have a good
questions
answer for
about
this, but I don't.
We had questions about favorite sandwiches, but not about favorite foods in general. Favorite TV shows. We haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could use more questions about like us as people. Maybe.
I think so.
But that's also like not really relevant to the podcast. So
yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with like the way things were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it worked out well.
Honestly, thank you all for this. This was almost 60 questions here.
Yeah.
So this was really good.
Yeah, somehow we got through like almost 60 questions worth of questions. This is wild.
Yeah, truly.
We really appreciate the amount of support that everybody has shown us over the years. I think with this episode, it wraps up our official 4-year anniversary celebration.
Yes.
Which is coming out at the end of June. And I'm really thankful for everybody that's been with us over these last 4 years and everybody joining us recently. It truly means the world to us that people care about the thing that we're doing here, and that it's more interesting than than not. Right.
Yeah, I love that people have been on this journey with us and supported us, and I say it a lot, but like we wouldn't still be doing this if people didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't do it just for like the numbers or anything, but there's definitely something satisfying about knowing that it resonates with people. So yeah. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to not having to cry myself to sleep at night because we've covered more games.
Exactly. We get to learn more about the games. We get to make some characters, and we get to play a little bit of fanfic with them, and every series, every month. And it makes us happy doing that.
It does. Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see where this next 4 years is going to go. I'm excited to see what the next 4 months are going to go, because goodness, we've got a lot of games that we want to cover, and we just need to figure it out.
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah, we're just coming off of Series 51, which as of this recording hasn't started releasing yet publicly. But you can get the first episode, if not everything, of our future series. You can get them a little bit early on our Patreon, which is, I think, really fun.
Yes.
And so check that out, and check us out on our Discord, because we really like talking with all of you. We noticed that there's a few newer people that have been more active on our Discord lately, and we really appreciate that.
Yes, that's been awesome to see new faces. And get a chance to talk with people.
We're trying to be a little bit more active on there too, and hopefully we could get some good discussions there going as well.
Agreed.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Antrim, and I can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning, or on my other podcast, Garbage of the Five Rings. Our other host, Ryan Bolter, can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast it originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs. and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by the absolutely fantastic Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game system used in today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, extra outtakes, and much, much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time. Now we gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you'll find other great shows like Iron Edda Reforged, Puppet Strings.
Ragnarok is coming, and it's you. Join creator Tracy Barnett and performers Alex Flanagan, B. Zelda, and Jeff Stormer as they navigate a Norse cyberpunk city to accomplish their ultimate goal, the fall of the gods. Part actual play and part playtest, Puppet Strings gives you a look behind the scenes of the development of Iron Edda Reforged and into the minds of 4 amazing designers.